Welcome everybody, it's Solomon. In this video we are going to be talking about the Call of Duty Zombies comic issue number 3, and we're really going to be summarizing all the main story points and try to explain what we can and just talk about the rest. But if you guys have not read this comic for yourself, I highly recommend you go do that first, because we're going to be talking about the main storyline points in this, and if you want everything to be just as beautiful as for your first time reading it, then of course you should read it first. But anyways, without further delay, let's actually get into this. So the first place I want to bring you guys is somewhere in the middle of the comic book, and this is when we actually first see Sophia, or at least a hologram of her. And it's actually very interesting that there's actually a Sophia inside this universe, and we're not too sure if this is the same Sophia from Revelations and Gorod Krovi or a different one. We're not too sure. It could be, and it could just be some other Sophia, but at least for me, I hope it is actually the same one. And I'm not too sure exactly how we would explain this, because we're not too sure exactly what happened to Sophia at the end of Revelations, but at the same time, this could have happened before Revelations, even before the Giant too. We're not too sure exactly the time it is. We do know it's supposed to be before the Giants, but we're not exactly sure. We can't say for certain. But anyways, more back to focusing on what she's saying. She actually says welcome to Zero Base, and Zero Base, we're not exactly sure what this is, and this is why it really makes me think that this isn't exactly the same Sophia, or this had to happen at least sometime before Gorod Krovi, or maybe it could have happened sometime in the future of Gorod Krovi and she was moved to this Zero Base, but we're just not sure at this point. But it's really interesting to think what Zero Base is, but we really can't say anything of it, at least now. But it's super cool to think of, especially after what we will see in just a little bit. So one thing I want to point out is that something our characters have realized, like for some reason this Richtofen looking zombie is actually somewhat controlling the other zombies around him. But anyways, in the next scene, and this is what blew everyone away when they first saw it, we actually see this room inside this Zero Base, and it's very interesting because we don't even know what Zero Base is. And at first it was just something that was bothering me, but after seeing what's inside this room, it's just like, wait, what is this Zero Base? And of course we could see Ted from Transit, we could see the giant egg thing from Moon, and we could see the lightning staff, I believe, and the golden rod, and I believe all the way to the right you could actually see, I think, the rocket shield, but I don't know, it looks like the rocket shield from Shadows of Evil. But just by looking at this stuff, and really none of this stuff should be in this room together, because never has Ted ever interacted with any of these other things. The staff has never interacted with any of these other things, of course, to our knowledge. Just like none of these have or should have ever interacted. Well, I guess the shield and the golden rod, because we had the golden rod inside the Rise of the Rocket, and the shield too, but that's not really that important. But just to think about how they have this inside this junk room, like these things are supposed to be super powerful, like, well, minus Ted, but the other things are supposed to be super powerful, and it just really makes no sense how all these things are here and why they would be here. But anyways, I really have no words for this, because it just doesn't make any sense, especially how they're throwing there just like trash. Personally, to me, it just looks like they're just throwing a whole bunch of things from all the different places we played inside the previous maps and putting them inside this place. So maybe this is just a universe collected of a bunch of important things from other universes. Maybe that's what it is, because that also would apply to Sophia and it would kind of explain why she's there. But we'll have to see again in the future. Unfortunately, we don't have any answers for now. But anyways, we actually get this image, and I'll show you guys on screen, and this is actually when Morrison guides our characters into this one room, and just by looking at this room, we can't really tell what's happening here. And one thing I would like to point out right here is that we actually see outside the window, we see these craters or mountain looking things, and I'll tell you what I think about this in just a second, but just notice them for now. They kind of look like the mountains in the background and everything. We do see these trees growing on everything. We see the giant beautiful machine in the middle, and of course we see all those pods things that we'll get an explanation for in just a second. But just to give you guys an idea of why I'm pointing out those mountainish looking things in the background, is because what I exactly think of them. And if we actually think back to the new Nuketown loading screen we had, we actually see something similar to this, and I'll show you guys on screen just for you guys to compare them to each other. And as you guys can see, this crater, and I believe we're actually inside this crater possibly, and of course that would explain the mountain ridges looking things, because you can compare them easily to these things between the two soldiers in this image. So it's just something I thought of and thought I should share with everybody, just at least my thoughts on this, because this would actually give us an idea of what these places are, and this could actually explain where exactly the drill is actually located at that we see, and it actually has a name, and it's called Zero Base. So that would be so cool to get some answers to that, and I would absolutely love it. But anyways, besides that, we see inside the same image just Marlton pulling out the element they got from the last comic book, and of course we'll see what he does in just a second. So what he actually does, he puts inside the machine, as you guys know if you guys have read the comic before. But what they do after putting inside this machine, our characters actually get inside these pods, and this is where it gets even more interesting. And what happens is that our characters are actually have their blood taken from them by this machine, which is so interesting because, as everyone knows, that the blood of that we've assumed that the blood of our transit characters are actually important, especially because there's connections to Garage Crovey because of Sophia too, because we have a cipher inside Garage Crovey talking about some blood that was taken by some individuals, and of course it had their initials that, well, at least we assumed their initials, like SSMJABR, I believe, and that's what we thought they were for the longest time. And I think this could actually confirm what we're talking about. Now the problem is, and I'll probably talk about this more in depth in a separate video, but the problem is that for some reason somebody was able to write that cipher, but it looks like nobody's going to be able to actually enter into this. But anyways, it gets so interesting in just a second, because after they enter into this, we're not sure exactly what happens, but all of a sudden we just see a normal world again, or at least from them they kind of say that, did we just fix the world or something like that. And it's just very interesting, but we just see some green looking stuff, and you have to remember the world they were in. They were inside Transit, Die Rise, and Buried. And think about that world for a second. Die Rise was the upside down city, Buried was like an old western village underground, and then Transit was Transit, and those places aren't exactly a normal world. So when they see this, I can imagine why they think the world is fixed, and this is just so interesting. I'm not too sure what they actually mean by the world being fixed, and I would really like to explain this to you guys, but we really just don't have a real explanation for it, and it's so interesting to see, but we're not too sure what they actually mean by it. Now, just to go talking a little bit more in depth about something that's been bothering me about this, or something I've been thinking of, is that exactly how the heck did they fix the world by entering into these machines? Because it really doesn't make any sense. Did it like put them to sleep and they woke up, or did it teleport them somewhere? But if it teleported them somewhere, why didn't they just have the portals that have been already opening for them? Why didn't they just do that originally? And if it put them to sleep, how the heck did the zombies not attack them? But we'll have to hopefully see inside the next comic book issue, and I don't believe it's going to be coming out for a good amount of time, but it just gets me so hyped for it. Anyways, if you guys did enjoy this video, go ahead and thumbs up, and if you guys want to see for content similar to this, go ahead and subscribe. But I'm going to go, and I will catch you guys on my next video.